Greetings everyone, I'm Kevin, and here's my TBR for Olympicsathon. Olympicsathon is a Olympic-based readathon hosted by Charlott from ClumsyCharlott, and the Olympicsathon is starting at the 21st of July and ends on the 8th of August. So it's a 19-day long readathon. Charlott made these beautiful graphics for the prompts. So we have the 5 ring prompts, and so color blue. The blue ring is for a book that has something to do with Greece, and that is because, you know, the Olympics started in Greece, in ancient Greece. Like, that's the origin of the Olympics. So that's why, like, the blue is a book that has something to do with Greece. The second ring is the black ring, which is something to do with sport. It doesn't have to be a real sport, it can be a fictional sport. The third ring is the red one, and it is a book that has something to do with fire, and it can be a fire-related word in the title, or, you know, there are some like fire-related things drawn on the title, anything like that. The fourth color of the ring is yellow, and it is something to do, a book that has something to do with the host country, and the host country this year is Japan. And the last ring is green, and it is a book that has something that includes disability representation. And then we also have the 3 bonus prompts, 5 different continents, like 5 books, or like 5 books, 5 different continents, 5 translated books, and then all 5 colors on the cover. And the 5 colors are blue, black, red, yellow, and green, the colors of the Olympic flag, the rings, you know. And I've been kind of like going through my bookshelves ever since Charlotte had her little announcement video, which I will link down below so you can check that out for more information and everything. I've kind of tried to piece together how to create a TBR. What books do I want to read and should I read and stuff. And I have a book buying ban for the summer, so I challenge myself to not buy new books. So I've really tried to pick books that I own or that are available to me on Scribd, because Scribd is a service that you pay a certain amount a month and you get kind of free range on audiobooks and ebooks and stuff like that. So those are kind of like my options. And so for the first book, and also like because it had to be, I wanted to challenge myself to fulfill every prompt, including all bonus prompts. So 5 continents, 5 translated books, and the 5 colors of the rings on the cover. And Greece was a prompt that I really struggled with. I was like, oh, I could read The Song of Achilles, but then I feel like no, because not that long ago I wrote a huge essay on the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus in the Iliad, 2 translations of the Iliad, Troilus and Cressida of William Shakespeare, and then The Song of Achilles. So I kind of did a whole thing about the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus. I'm kind of not looking to read that again so soon after writing that essay. Like, I'm a little tired of that. Like, I want something new. And then I felt like, oh, I could read Percy Jackson because I own Percy Jackson and I read Percy Jackson. And I felt like Scribd has Percy Jackson in German, so I could read it in German, or I could go to the library and pick it up in Swedish. So that would be very easy. But then I felt like, no, because like the Olympics has to do with ancient Greece. So I felt like The Song of Achilles would have fitted, but I can't find it in a language that isn't English. While Percy Jackson is set in our contemporary society, in the US contemporary society. So I tried to dig into a little bit more. I ended up with, for the prompt Greece, with 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. And this is kind of like the Trojan War, but from the women's perspective. So that is unlike anything that I've read having to do with the Trojan War. So I felt like that is going to be very interesting, and I'm going to read it as an audiobook on Scribd because it's available to me on Scribd. So that is Grease. Then we're on to the one that I struggle a little bit more with, and it is sports, because I kind of went through my shelves and I was just, you know, looking at my unread shelves like these, and I found the only book that I had that had to do with sports was She Drives Me Crazy. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna read this. And then continuing to look, I kind of laughed to myself and was like, I could read Hunger Games. And the next prompt is fire, and I was kind of like, I could read Catching Fire. You know, wink wink, kind of like. Then as it was just a joke, I thought like, okay, I'm gonna read Fireblood, the second book in the Frostblood series, which I absolutely adore. I've only read the first book, but the first book was great. And then the next prompt is Japan, and so I'm going to read Confessions of a Mask by Yukio Mishima for the prompt Japan. This is set in the Imperial Japan and was originally written in Japanese, so this is also a translated book. The next prompt was the one that really bothered me, disability representation. And I looked through my shelves and I wasn't sure if any book had disability rep. And then I kind of laughed to myself and I thought like I could read Mockingjay, because after the first Hunger Games, Katniss is deaf on one ear and Peeta lost his leg and uses now a prosthetic. And because of that, because for 3 prompts, I went back to the Hunger Games. I felt like also looking at these 2 books, we have the US and we have Fantasy World. Both are not translated. Like both of these were written in English and I have them in English. So I kind of felt like this country, the US, I get from reading the Hunger Games. So why not just read the Hunger Games and save these? So that is kind of where I'm going with this. And as like a graduation present to myself, I actually got Hunger Games a limited edition in German, because like I love reading in English and German, and these editions were really beautiful. So for sport, I am going to read Die Tribute von Panem, Tödliche Spiele, which is Deathly Game. So this is the first Hunger Games book. It's gorgeous in my opinion. It's absolutely beautiful. So this I'm going to read for sports. And then for the prompt fire, I am going to read the Mockingjay, because in German it is Flammender Zorn, which means flaming rage or flaming anger, something like that. And Flammender, flaming. Flaming is a fire related word. So I'm going to read Mockingjay for fire. And then for disability, this actually worked out very well, because the second book, Catching Fire, in German is Gefährliche Liebe, which is dangerous love. And the thing about like Catching Fire is because that's kind of where they struggle at first with their disabilities. Like Katniss, her deaf ear, and Peeta with his prosthetic. This is kind of like right after they lost those senses or things. I don't know how to explain it, but like she lost her hearing on one ear and Peeta lost part of his leg or his whole leg. I don't remember where they kind of amputated it, but they did, and he uses a prosthetic. So those things they're kind of struggling with. And in this, the Hunger Games in this book, there are things that happen that are directly resulted because of their disabilities that the movie completely just brushed aside and said like they were clumsy instead of doing like disability representation. That's, I don't like the movies for that, but that's the last prompt of the original 5. So here we have 4 translated books, 1 translated from Japanese to English and 3 translated from English to German. And then we're moving on to the bonus prompts. So I have 5 continents. Like I have Greece for Europe, I have Japan for Asia, I have North America because the Hunger Games is set in the US. And that leaves 2 continents. And the first book I'm going to read that is not anything to do with the main prompts is Finders Keepers by N.R. Walker. This is a really cute male-male romance there is like this, it's set in Australia, so Oceania, so another continent. And this is about this guy who moves to this new place. He's trying to kind of settle in, and he spends a day by the beach, and he finds a dog that is really muddy and not in a good condition. And he waits around for a little bit, like, where is the owner? But the owner doesn't show up. So he takes the dog in, takes care of him and stuff like that. And then he finds the owner, and they kind of get involved romantically. It's a very cute romance, and I love when like dogs, pets are involved. Like I find that really cute, and I really adore this book. It's great. So I'm reading this for Australia, Oceania, so a 4th continent now. And then the next book is both a 5th continent and the 5th translated book, and it is Allt går sönder by Chinua Achebe. And this is Everything Falls Apart in English, I believe. And this was originally written in English, but I'm reading it in Swedish because I own the Swedish copy. So I'm reading it in Swedish. And this is set in Africa, and this is in a pre-colonial Nigeria in the end of the 1800s. So that's very exciting. That's very interesting. So I'm reading this for Africa and us. So this is the last continent and the last translated book that I'm going to read. And that leaves us with one book, because neither of these books that I've shown have fitted the prompt 5 colors in the title, and those colors were the blue, green, red, yellow, and black. Neither of these books that I've talked about fitted that, and I've been like browsing my shelves, and I were like, I have to find a book that fits this, and I did. It is not a book that I ever expected to read for a readathon, but it's like I'm not complaining, and it's Star Trek, the novelization of the motion picture. So it's kind of funny, this book is actually called Star Trek the Motion Picture, which is like movie, but it's a book. And this is the only book that I have with every color on the cover, which you cannot argue that this has black, blue, green, red, and yellow. I mean, it has the entire rainbow on here. So this is the last book that I am going to read for Olympicsathon. So here are all the books that I am going to read for Olympicsathon, hopefully. The 5 translated books, 5 continents, and the 5 colors of the Olympic flag on a cover. This is going to be very interesting. Like, most of these books will be rereads for me, but the Hunger Games series, Die Verboten von Panem, it will be my first time reading them in German, so that will be very exciting and interesting for me. But yeah, so here we have it. So that was it for this video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and what do you think about my selection? Until next time, good reading. Bye!